Modern society operates on a catastrophic analytical failure. We measure a person's power by tracking their accumulation of fiat currency, real estate, and corporate titles. Fiat currency is engineered to lose value. Every newly printed note dilutes the purchasing power of the existing supply, locking wealth into a mathematical state of constant depreciation. Physical real estate offers the illusion of permanence, yet its immobility makes it an easy target. It is anchored to a single geography, entirely exposed to sudden state seizure, eminent domain, and aggressive taxation. Corporate and political titles are equally fragile. A C-suite executive or a state official can be stripped of their authority by a single administrative signature or boardroom vote. By building your identity upon these three pillars, you are concentrating your vulnerability into a highly visible, centralized target for adversaries to attack. Traditional markers of success represent the hoarding of fragile, heavily monitored liabilities. Relying on them forces a defensive posture, requiring constant and exhausting effort to protect assets that remain inherently insecure. Thousands of years ago, the grand strategist Chanakya identified this exact systemic fragility. He observed how physical wealth invited envy and dictated a defensive posture. His protocol demanded an alternative framework, the total abandonment of physical assets as the primary base of operational power. He prioritized the accumulation of vidya, specialized knowledge and skill. This currency compounds infinitely and remains invisible to external observers. This concept moves beyond academic trivia. Chanakya framed vidya as a survival mechanism designed to extract resources from any environment, regardless of the local regime. This briefing provides the proof that acquiring specialized, irreplaceable knowledge is the only verifiable method for establishing absolute, unseizable leverage. We begin with verse 4.5 of Chanakya's doctrine. He classifies specialized skill as Guptam Dhanam, translated directly as hidden wealth. This network diagram illustrates the architecture of this hidden wealth. When external systems like banking networks and property markets fail, a highly specialized mind functions as a decentralized vault. This biological vault has absolute immunity. A hostile state cannot freeze it, inflation cannot dilute it. Like the mythical Kamadhenu, a skilled operator can synthesize value from zero. When a systemic shock wipes out physical portfolios, the purely wealthy individual spirals into operational panic. The highly skilled individual maintains a steady operational tempo, relying on internal generative capacity. True financial security cannot be held in an external portfolio. It is an internal generative engine that thrives on systemic chaos. Positional authority carries its own severe vulnerabilities. In verse 2.15, Chanakya outlines the structural difference between a king and a scholar. This map represents the rigid boundary of a king's jurisdiction. Whether a sovereign nation or corporate department, the authority is strictly localized. Relying on a title binds your identity to a bounded system. Step outside that boundary, and positional power drops to zero. But the scholar represents deep, irreplaceable skill. This asset is entirely borderless, retaining full operational power across all territories. The global market bows to extreme competence. When an individual possesses a rare, critical skill, local gatekeepers actively bypass their own protocols to acquire that talent. You hold the leverage to dictate terms to the institution, rather than waiting for them to dictate terms to you. Positional titles are a trap designed to create administrative hostages. Deep skill creates borderless, untouchable mercenaries. Verse 8.2 analyzes the biological anomaly of the Palash flower. This schematic details a bloom of aesthetic perfection, but highlights a functional sterility. It produces zero yield and emits no scent. This aesthetic sterility mirrors the modern obsession with inherited wealth, nepotism, and superficial physical optics. A powerful family name or flawless appearance grants initial access to highly exclusive, guarded rooms, but a severe execution gap quickly follows. Once inside the room, the environment shifts immediately from social networking to brutal execution, and those superficial optics lose all their utility. Lacking the hard currency of deep knowledge, These privileged individuals are systematically dismantled by the highly competent operators who actually execute the work. Privilege devoid of extreme competence is a temporary illusion. It serves only to place the individual into high-stakes environments that expedite their own destruction. Verse 5.2 reveals the final utility of this supreme currency. Deep knowledge operates by systematically removing friction from a practitioner's path. What the average person perceives as impossible operational burdens instantly become light, manageable tasks for the competent practitioner. Extreme proficiency removes the anxiety of unfamiliarity, converting hostile foreign markets into highly profitable home territory. Strategic articulation neutralizes the barriers of human resistance. Every stranger becomes a potential ally, an asset waiting to be deployed. The objective of accumulating knowledge is to establish a capacity that systematically removes resistance from your professional life. Look closely at your own operational framework right now. You must ruthlessly audit the foundation of your current power structure. Determine whether your professional identity is propped up by administrative titles that can be revoked or physical assets that are constantly depreciating. A systemic shock or a black swan event is a mathematical certainty. When it occurs, those superficial physical layers of defense will be wiped out. If your power resides in physical leverage rather than the internal vault of vidya, you lack the necessary defenses for systemic survival.